John Hoeven joins us right now, the North Dakota senator, key player in all this stuff going on. Senator, always great to have you. You know, they are uncovering a lot of silly things like that. I think the most alarming, forget all the money, the fact that so many federal workers are not physically going to the office. Now, I'm all for remote work when it works, but their numbers are way out of whack with what's going on in the rest of the country.
Well, Neil, good to be with you. And that's just common sense stuff, right? I mean, everybody thinks about Vivek and Elon and all these really super ideas, and I'm sure they'll have a lot of them. But, you know, that's just common sense stuff that I think every American's going to go, absolutely, what in the world? Why do we have all these folks? They're not coming into work. And if they're not going to come into work, then they should be doing something else. And also all the office space and everything else that could be sold and so on and so forth, not only to reduce costs, but to gain revenue. And really, that's a 2-for-1, Neil. Think about it. When you require all those folks to come in, a lot of them won't, so they leave, you reduce costs, and there's a lot of savings there. But then they'll go find employment somewhere else, and we need workers to grow our economy. So it should be a 2-for-1, savings in government and you know, help for in terms of the workforce for a growing economy.
You know, Senator, I'm the last one to disparage people like Elon Musk. He's a genius. He's a Thomas Edison of our times. Vivek Ramaswamy, very successful young businessman, and biotech, and into that when no one was. I get that. But these guys are essentially lining up the shots here and calling the shots. Is anyone policing them and looking at some of the things they might come up with, which might be perfectly well and good, and that they might be rigging this to benefit their companies or their investments?
Well, look, I mean, they're going to come forward with a lot of ideas, and as you know, you know, DOGE goes for about 2 years. I mean, there's a finite amount of time that they have to make recommendations. And remember, they make recommendations, and so then we go to work. And you're going to see the president come out with executive orders that's going to implement some of these things, but it's going to require not only statutory authority to do it, which means it'll have to go to the committees of jurisdiction, but then it has to go to where everything gets funded. I'm on appropriations, and so then folks on approps, we're going to now have to take all that and figure out, you know, where we can actually implement those savings, where there's statutory authority to do it, and how we can get enough votes to actually put it into force. This isn't the first time there's been a cost-cutting effort. The key is the execution and how well DOGE can set it up so that we can execute as much of it as possible.
You know, you've been watching a long time. You've been trying to go after waste, fraud, and abuse, and God bless you because you have the track record to prove it. But the fact of the matter is, Senator, it's like me with diets. They don't end as I hoped. So I'm wondering now if this will just be another ill-fated turn. Some, not by any means all of your Republican colleagues, aren't too keen on what they're given the power to do, and virtually unanimously, not all, but most Democrats think it's a step too far. So where do you see it going?
That's why I started with the common sense aspect of it, Neil. I mean, everybody likes the fact that these guys are great thinkers, and they are, and they'll come up with some really cool stuff, I'm sure. But I go back to the common sense stuff that people will embrace. So when you're talking about government employees that are not coming into work, and then, you know, reducing that workforce, finding a lot of facilities in and around the Washington, D.C. area that we can sell or, you know, find ways to get savings there. But remember, the other thing is, how about getting some of these folks out across the country, out in the rural areas where they can provide better service? Now you're talking to, you know, for example, I work in the agriculture area. They don't need 100,000 people in the USDA office building there in D.C., pretty much not, you know, being responsive to them. How about we reduce that number tremendously and get some folks out around the country where they can actually give some good service? At the end of the day, it always takes public support to do these things.
Well said. Senator, if I don't see you again before the holidays, have a wonderful holiday, wonderful Christmas. You're going to be a busy guy next year. You already are. John Hoeven, the North Dakota senator, trying to find a way to watch all that money that goes out so that we can at least get close to balancing the books. That's the hope, at least.